Hello and welcome to the I Am Affirmation Wheel. This is going to be a tutorial. My name is April Hanna. I am an abstract artist and also a mental health therapist, and I like to combine all that I know in the clinical world into the art that I do. So I'm going to be teaching a training, and actually it's going to be a workshop on how to make one of these. And since I have rebranded my business and I have the I Am logo, when I was scrolling on Pinterest, I found these beautiful I Am circle wheels, and I thought, well, this would be perfect. So first, let's start off with the supplies that you're going to need. For demonstration purposes, you can do this on a smaller 8x8. You can do it on a nice canvas paper, but we have here an 11x14 canvas, so you can see all that I'm doing. You're going to need some water, glass of water. Make sure you have your paint brushes, and I'd like you to choose at least 3 different acrylic paints. There are so many different ways that you can create this wheel, but for simplicity for today, we're just going to use acrylic paints. So I'm just going to choose 3 colors. I might add a 4th. You're going to need a pencil and some sort of round thing that you're going to trace for the circle. And it could be a large circle, it could be a small one. You can use the lid to a spray paint can or the lid of a candle. All right. And then you're going to need different size paint brushes probably, and that's about it. But one of the things that I'm going to bring to my classes are the temporary tattoos that I have. I have lots left over from a show that I did and realized that I could use these in my art. So I actually have for my classes affirmations. If you don't like your handwriting, if you don't want to write the affirmations in, or you don't even want to think about the affirmations that you need, I have a bunch. And this one page of temporary tattoos that I have is all about I am creative. So we're going to use some of those, and I'm going to handwrite some in. How we are going to begin. I would like you to take your round circle of what you're going to trace, and there's a couple of different ways that you can do this. This is going to look a little bit like a sun. So the I am is going to be in the center, and then we're going to have rays coming out from the circle. Now, some that I've seen will put their circle here and have the rays come out from the side. Totally up to you. If you want the circle up here and have the rays shine down, you can. But let's just try to find the middle here, and then you're just going to trace. Now, sometimes the pencil marking will come through, but I wanted it to be dark so you could see it. The other thing that we know in painting and when you're tracing or doing things, the color yellow or a highlighter can also work best because all paint will cover over it and you won't even see it. So we're going to have that. The other thing that you need is going to be a ruler. So from the center of, we'll call it your I am sun, you're just going to start drawing in some rays. And they can be different sizes. They don't need to be the same shape. You're going to want to give them an angle. And you're just going to go around like that. So now we have our wheel. Now I also have larger I am stickers. And before I put this on, this is a temporary part of a temporary tattoo that I will put on here, and that will be the center. The I am stickers that I have that you can buy on my website are a little bit bigger, so you would need a bigger circle in the center. But before we do that, I'm probably going to color that in a color. So what we're going to do next is we're going to paint. So I'd like you to pick your colors. And I was kind of in the mood today for some paints that are glittery. that have sparkles in them. So I have a purple, I have a teal, I have a gold, and I have one of my favorite pink goldens. This is magenta that I really love too. The golden paints are much thicker, and I'm going to show you when I apply it. You need very little compared to some of these, but let's get started. So you'll also need something to put your paint on. Believe it or not, when I frame some of my art pieces with the shadow boxes from Michaels, I take the glass out and I use it and I put my paints on it. You just have to be careful. It's a little sharp. I also have one of these that you can hold, but this is actually pretty heavy, and you can put your paints on there. And another fun trick is if you have any wax paper, you can take the wax paper, do a small sheet, tear a small sheet off, and just put a couple dots. But I'm going to use this so I can hold it and paint it, and you can see it. So let's start off with some gold. And I'm going to get a little bit of a thicker brush because these are pretty thick. I also have some other brushes, so you might need a couple of different brushes. I'm going to start with this gold color. And I have a feeling I might even put this in the center. And we're just going to start to paint. Now, I'm also going to figure out, since I have 3 colors, I think this one's going to go here. 1, 2. I'm going to have it go here. I'm going to have it go here. I'm going to have it go here. And we have a couple extra here. So we'll see how the pattern will go. I like patterns. You don't need to do, you don't need to paint these in your patterns. And my art studio is in my basement. So you're going to hear weird noises. And that sounds like our water filtration system. So I'm just going to move along, painting this in. I love this gold. It looks so bright and cheery. And what's going to end up going in, I'll call them the sunray boxes here, are going to be your affirmations. So it could be words, it could be full sentences. And this affirmation wheel is going to be a tool for you to look at every day and to be reminded, really, of who you are and what you are becoming, what you need to be reminded of. These are fun to make every year, almost like a vision board if you wanted. I've also seen so many different variations. I'll probably do a bunch of different tutorials with other ideas that I've seen. But the ones that I've seen that don't have paint, they will have cut out pieces of paper that they will put as array. And then they'll put another piece of paper over here and write their affirmation in. And I've also seen some variations and examples of people finding words in magazines and just doing that cutout a little abstractly and placing it in the center. So we could do that too. We could find some words from a magazine and put it on top of this gold, or you can handwrite. And the other thing that I'm going to buy for my classes are just some stickers with different words on them. But I also have these really cool temporary tattoos. Now, with the pencil line that you see, just don't come over here. Probably what I'm going to do is take one of my gold markers to go over that line, or I can always take black paint because it is dark and put that over. So if you used yellow or a highlighter, then it would really be up to you. If you wanted it dark, if you wanted it gold, if you wanted it silver, or you could even paint white over it. And if this is your first time working with acrylic paints, a little goes a long way. As you can see, I just have a little dollop there. This might even be too much for what I have left. That's okay too, because I just did one coat. The thing with acrylic paints is they dry pretty quickly, which is really nice, but sometimes, depending upon the quality, and the ones that I'm using right now are not of the highest quality, if you want a darker or a more lush color, then you will need to apply a couple of layers. Now I could be using a smaller edging brush here to kind of get these edges in nice and close, but this brush is pretty forgiving. Okay, so since I have a bunch of extra paint, as you can see, I didn't need all of that. Just going to add some more. You can also play around with your strokes a little bit if you want them coming up or down. I'm going to come back over here. I like paint actually coming down like a ray there. So now we have our first color. You're going to rinse your brush off. Dab it with a paper towel if you need to get off some of the excess water here. And we're going to move to the next color. This is going to be a metallic. Metallic is the word, not sparkly. Metallic. These are metallic paints. Going to do a metallic purple. See if it wants to come out. Nope. All right. Just to fix that. Maybe this is going to be a different color. Color wheel. All right, so a nice, beautiful teal is going to go great. And if you have some extra water on your brush, you can just throw it there. Okay, so teal and gold. They look really nice. And if you like more softer, transparent colors, you can add more water to your acrylic paint, or you can also do this in watercolor. And maybe that'll be another tutorial so that you can see the difference. All right. And if I'm going to bring that magenta in too, then I'm not going to go every other. So I will actually have 4 colors to this wheel. So why an I Am Affirmation Wheel? Why do we care so much about affirmations? Because what has been studied and what is realized from even a spiritual concept is that anything that comes after those 2 words, I am, will manifest into being. We use these words all the time, and many times without even giving thought to what we're saying. And part of my goal is hoping and helping people to be more cognizant of their vocabulary, of their words, how they speak to others, how they speak to themselves. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do to shed the light on the power of I am. So you can see I've already made a couple of boo-boos here, but not too worried about it, because when I begin to trace these lines, I'll probably make them a little bit thicker than what you're seeing here. So, whenever you use the word like, I am not good at painting, that will continue to manifest and be the truth. But if you say, I am excellent at painting, well, that will become your truth as well. So many people don't even stop to think in a conversation how many times a day they use the 2 words I am. Oh, I am hot. Oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I'm really nervous. I'm really anxious. I'm so mad. I mean, it's almost like we can't talk without saying I am. And so this affirmation wheel is to keep your mouth on track, to keep your mind focused and to be reminded of what type of energy you want to bring into your home, your mind, your life. And you get to create something that looks really beautiful, and you get to hang it up and look at it. And you can, maybe after you sit with this and have this hanging in your house for a year or so, maybe it'll no longer resonate because you have met all of these affirmations. And maybe you want to do another painting or another I Am collage wheel to really embody whatever you're feeling that year. And then you could give this and gift it to somebody who may need that. All right, now we're going to get third color, golden. And golden, I have experimented with a lot of different paints, and I have to say, these are expensive, but as the old saying goes, you get what you pay for. And they're full-bodied. The color is beautiful. They are very, very thick. So very, very little needs to go on. So I'm just going to put a dab right there, and let's see how far that goes. And if you don't want to use a paper towel, a good old washcloth is great too. All right, so I'm just going to throw some water on there. Just a little bit so you can see what I have on, and you're going to see how smooth, see how dark that goes on. It's so thick, so beautiful. And then with these, I probably will add a little splash of water to make it spread and to go a little bit longer of a ways. They cover very, very nicely. Now, the other thing, too, that I did not do with this canvas is I did not gesso it. So if you're new to that, too, when you gesso a canvas, it gives it just a smoother finish on the bottom, but also it begins to absorb your paints a little bit more. So you see how this is kind of bleeding through. When you do a coat of gesso, then it allows the paint to just go on smoother. It's very similar like a primer. When you think about if you're painting over a colored wall, or even if it's a white wall and they tell you to prime the walls, and then the paint goes on really smooth and you don't need as much. That's basically what gesso does. All right, I'm going to add a little more water and see if I could just get the corners here. And again, there's still so much paint on my brush. Oh, that's going to bleed a little bit. I'm lucky that I caught that. It didn't go in the center, but if it did, no big deal. No mistakes in art, right? I don't really see any of my edger brushes. I might have them. This is kind of one. Do you see how it's on a little bit of a slant as opposed to that? So let's try that. Make it. And then the other thing that you can do is if you have a little spray bottle, you can spray it. Now, because this is a pencil, that's going to run a little bit, but this will help me to put this on a little bit quicker since there's water on there, as you can see. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, since I kind of ran over here, I'm going to look for a darker purple, and I might even go to one of my goldens instead of the metallic purple that I have. So we're going to switch it up. Now, one thing I do not like to waste is golden paint because it is so expensive. So I'm going to leave that there and eventually come back and probably do a couple more coats. Maybe I'll see how that's going right there. Again, these dry pretty quickly. And this is light violet. I'm problems here. I didn't have the cap on tight enough, so it has dried a little bit. So this will take me a little bit to work it out. So let me just choose another purple, but also lesson, make sure that these are super tight because if air gets in there, it's going to dry it out. Worst comes to worst, I can cut it and open up the paint that way. Here's another one of my favorite colors, and this is Golden Magnese Blue Hue. So again, the reason why I want to go to golden is just because I went over there and I want a little bit of a color that will cover that. And red and blue make purple. So that'll be good too. That's the other thing. I can make my own color. So maybe what I will do is I will take the blue, put it next to my magenta in case I do want to make a little bit of a purple. And a little bit there. This is pretty thick. It's definitely going to need some water. And I'm going to be a little more mindful. Remember, I added water to this. Perfect. So as you see, I covered it up. No biggie. So there's no water up here. As you can see, that's a lot thicker. So I'm going to turn that into a nice purple because I really wanted some purple in this painting, especially up against the gold. Also, to brace yourself, you can put your thumb down like that to just hold a better line. If you've ever gotten your nails done, you'll see them do this quite a bit, where they'll brace. Now, the other thing with the darker color, with some of the temporary tattoos that I have, it's going to be harder to show up. So most likely, I'm going to have to think of another way or use a paint pen to put an affirmation on that deep dark color. It's going to go back to some of the magenta that I saved. And let's see if we can fix a little bit of this runoff. And then we have to decide what color do we want the center to be. We got blues and reds and yellows and teals. I might pick a color that really makes it pop and do some orange. What do you think about orange? I think that's a little unexpected. And again, what I would say is take your time, let it dry, and I would go back and I would probably do more coats and layers just to make sure that you can't really see through onto the canvas. Make it a little more robust. But again, just for time in the tutorial. We're not looking about being perfect here. All right, so this is really going to brighten and really catch the eye. So we also know oranges and blues go well together with the purples. This light green, reds, when you think about the color wheel. And if you're a mixed media art person, you might have some, fun stickers that you'd like to put on here. I also might break out some of my stamps. Got some butterflies and dragonflies. All right, so now we have the center, nice orange. The I Am tattoos that I have. And these are also for purchase on my website. I have a bunch. You can always order more if we sell out. So it looks, well, you can see it this way. It says I am creative because of the camera, but actually when I'm looking at it, it is in reverse. So how these work is you take the plastic film off, and I'm going to put this on one of the gold because that's probably dry. And then I have to decide, do I want I am creative coming in or do I want it going out? I have no idea. We're going to try it a bunch of different ways. This is an experimental wheel. I think first I'm going to start with the I am like that. Place it where you want in the center. It's sticky, so there's a little sticker there. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your, you're going to take your water, and I'm going to dab it on here, just because stuff is still wet here. And you are going to get the backing of this wet, so it transfers the tattoo on. That's going to get the glue. You're going to play with the sides, and eventually you're going to lift this. Oh, not yet. Okay. There we go. As you can see, I am creative, so let's look at that. Oh boy, now I'm really mixing colors. See, I am creative. So these tattoos are great, but I would say for an 11 by 14, they might be a little small, because I was envisioning really filling this whole thing up. But you can also, if it is too small, you can fill stuff in. So let's get some stamps. All right, so I've got some hot pink stamp. I have a dragonfly. And I have this going in this direction. So very subtle. Ooh, I like that. So maybe I'm gonna stamp first. This way. Maybe another one this way. Okay, so let's try this again. We'll try another one. This one says, I am inspired. Okay, so let's go for, so the I am was up on top. I'm going to have the I am on this side and see how I like that. Really, if I had my paper towels here, that would be the best way to do it, because this cloth. The other thing that I found too, while this is drying, is if you actually want to wear these tattoos, I don't know if you could see, it's not really that noticeable there. When you shine the light, if you can cut them as close to the letters, otherwise there's glue there and you can kind of see the square around it. All right, let's see if that's enough water. That is. So this one, much easier. You can see it really is an easy process. And I'm kind of liking that they're in different directions. So because this is glue, again, don't be afraid to use your hands. I'm going to blend this in a little bit more so than what I did over here, which you can't really see the lines, but we can also touch that up. All right, coming together. I do have a long one here. So I do have longer affirmations. I am expanding my ideas. It's great for an art project. And show you with a pair of scissors of what I mean is all of this is also glue. So if I really don't want that to show, you're going to want to cut it, and you could even go in and really close and around the letters. You can also take some light molding paste that is opaque and also go over it just to make sure, and I'll show you how to do that. So I'll leave the bottom, but you can see what I mean by going around the letters. Okay, so which one do I like? I kind of like, I don't know, I feel like The I am is coming this way, so I think I'm going to have the I am go out. That might be too big. All right, we're going to have to try it over here. Now, we're just going to test this. We're going to see how the black looks on a very dark color like this. I know for sure these will not show up on the purple. So get that sticky part down. We'll have to worry too much about paint running here. And just spread it really close. And it really doesn't take more than a couple seconds. I don't know why the first one was giving us some trouble, like this one. Okay. That's showing up a little bit. So again, good to know with darker colors. These will probably work a little bit lighter. And you can see how that shows through. I'm going to show you another trick. All right, so the wheel is coming along. Now, if you have a painter's wedge and some light molding paste, some golden light molding paste, what I want to do to reinforce to make sure that these stay in place is I'm just going to put the molding paste over. It will dry clear. And it will probably just let some of those edges fix over here. Make sure that that doesn't come up when it dries for any reason. I'm experimenting with these, so I have no idea how they'll react. Ooh, all right. Well, the dragonfly's moving. Okay, so these are Craft Smart multi-surface premium oil-based paint pens. And they have an edge to them. And this is where we can highlight there. So you kind of have to dab them. I'm going to go back to this to get the ink. I don't think I've ever used this one yet. It's brand new. Shake it up. These have quite an odor to them. A little bit of an angle. All right, so this one is pretty old and leaking. So here we go. Oh my God, what a mess. Let's just circle that in so it doesn't even look like big of a mistake here. This one seems a little bit better. Much better. When you press down, that ink comes out. And yeah, we have what appears to be a little bit of a mistake, but not so much. Okay. So it's good. I'm kind of showing you what can happen with these paint pens. Sometimes that one I've used a lot and ink just like falls out and you can have issues with that. This one's a little bit better. And what I like about them is, you know, if it runs too much like that, just make them as thick as you want or as thin as you want. So the gold pen looks really nice. With the darker colors, stands out a lot more. And then you're basically going to take like a fine edge brush and you're going to clean everything up here. Okay, so I think we got all of them. Now, let's see if we can fix some stuff up. It's a paint pen or Tristo. Yeah, I'll have to bounce them a little bit. And let's see, I'm creative, I am inspired, I am expanding my ideas. I am Say living my truth. A black paint pen would probably be better. Let's see what it looks like on here. So I am creative. I am living my truth. I am inspired. I am, how about grateful? Just going to put the word instead of I am grateful. All right. So that came out a lot better. I am grateful. All right. So now, so I'll show you what it's going to look like with the I am in the center. So again, we got to take the sticky part off. You're right in the center. And you would take a wet paper towel, get it nice and wet, just like you would a regular temporary tattoo. Just press and hold. And there we are. I am. Okay, so I'm going to clean this up. I need some cleaning up for sure. But just wanted to give you an idea of how you can get one started, how you can use the I Am temporary tattoos that I have in my store. Also some really nice stickers as well. They're waterproof. Not sure how it would go with paint over. I kind of do like these. And again, the biggest thing when I take a couple pictures, you could see the square around it. So I really think it's important, and probably what I would do next time is to cut around that so it'll blend in a little bit more. And then we're also going to see how, if this is already drying and it looks better, how the molding paste kind of takes care of those corners. And then you're just going to go over, let's see, we really kind of did some damage there. Let's get our metallic gold and see if we could just cover this up a little bit. And also, we might even be able to hide some of those squares. You can kind of go in and around those. Yeah, the good thing is that this color here is gold. And if I wanted to turn it into a totally different color, I can. And I just went right over it completely, and then wipe some of it off again. And you probably just want to do some blending. There, we had to cover up that dragonfly that got a little messy. All right. And then we got to decide what we want to do here. So I don't know, maybe we're going to cover this one up too. We could just kind of be there in the background. That looks cool, like it's in flight. And then that's bringing a little of the magenta in, which I actually like. Okay, so the next job here is just to continue to clean it up and keep working on it. And that's how you create an I Am affirmation wheel. Granted, you would fill in all the rest, but you can do it with small temporary tattoos like this. You can handwrite, or you can cut out words from magazines. All right, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I will take some pictures of the finished outcome so you can see what it looks like. All right, take care.